Good day, everyone. Welcome to our first video lecture for Unit 3, and there are two lessons under the Unit 3. And I'm pretty sure you guys are ready. Thus, without further ado, let's begin. Allow me to share my screen this time so we could access the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so for Unit 3 class, we'll be talking about for Unit 3, we'll be talking about nature of project-based and problem-based approaches in language teaching. Of course, this is still the same, the subject EM11 technology for secondary language education. So nature of project-based and problem-based approaches in language teaching. Now, for Unit 3, Lesson 1, we'll be talking about problem-based learning and language acquisition, while for Lesson 2, we'll focus on teaching English with projects and project-based approach. So before anything else, let's all watch this video first for the problem, to know more about problem, or to know about problem-based learning.
At one time, schools were a place for children to be seen and not heard. They sat in straight rows and listened to the teacher lecture, then practiced skills independently. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you were lucky enough to be on the other side of that trend, where teachers interacted more with their students and made learning fun and engaging. These days, a popular teaching model is problem-based learning, or PBL. This method has several components that make it unique: a question that guides an investigation, hands-on learning experiences, and a solution to the question in the form of a presentation.
Okay, so for the PBL, it is, of course, shared in the video what PBL is, and there are many, of course, very important things.
Is problem-based learning, or PBL. This method has several components that make it unique. A question that guides.
Okay, a question.
At one time, schools were a place with their student model, or this method make it unique. Patient, hands-on.
Okay, here a question that guides an investigation. So a problem-based learning is we give question to the learners that would allow them to investigate, and then hands-on learning experiences. So everybody is involved. The learners and involved, they are hands-on. They are, they take part because, of course, they would do investigation. And then
based learning, or a question that, and to the question.
And at the same time, a solution to the question in the form of a presentation. So this is now what the students would present, is they would present the solution to the question that you gave them, because they will do investigation. And in the process of doing investigation, they would be part of it. So they would experience hands-on learning. And then later on, they would come up with a solution about the question, and they would present that
in the form of a presentation. Sound like fun? It is, which is one of the reasons proponents of PBL think it works so well. As a learning model, PBL has several aspects or strategies that support its popularity. PBL focuses on students learning in a hands-on way instead of memorizing facts. It also urges children to use high-level thinking skills, which require them to analyze, create, defend, or evaluate. Students are socially active and learn to work as part of a group, asking and answering questions.
So students here are socially active. They learn to work with their groups. They collaborate because, of course, they do investigation in order for them to arrive to a solution of a specific problem.
And supporting others' thoughts. They also find PBL experiences more engaging, motivating, and fun. Finally, the model naturally lends itself to intercurricular lessons. Students use reading, writing, math, or other subjects to answer questions.
So intercurricular, meaning it is not only about one subject, but it is similar to being multidisciplinary. So you incorporate one
motivating,
discipline to
and
the
fun.
other.
Finally, the model naturally lends itself to intercurricular lessons. Students use reading, writing, math, or other subjects to answer questions. Let's take a look at Mr. Tyler, a third grade teacher, to see what makes PBL a strong learning model. As mentioned before, PBL has a few unique and specific elements. Mr. Tyler learned about the PBL model last year and has had several chances to use it in his third grade classroom already. Although he teaches elementary students, PBL is versatile enough to use at any grade level. Here's what it looks like. All learning experiences with PBL begin with an essential question. This question is one that doesn't have a right answer and needs deep understanding of content to be answered.
The essential question does not have a right answer and needs deep understanding of content. So we could ask, or we could answer rather, the question. Now, the problem-based learning in language acquisition, let's go to the problem-based learning. It is a teaching and learning method. So project-based learning, basically it's we're talking here about problem-based still, no? Problem-based learning is a teaching and learning method in which learners gain knowledge and skills while investigating a problem or question that is extended over time. So this is problem-based learning. Now, for English language learners, this can be more engaging than studying words and skills in an abstract way, and it could even be more interesting and fun in a way, because there is a specific problem that you are going to solve. And to be able to come up with a solution is that you have to work and study and read and look for ways. And doing the process is very fun, because of course students would be able to learn and they would be exposed to a meaningful learning experience, authentic, not only meaningful but at the same time authentic. The problem-based learning, or PBL, this is actually a curriculum model that emphasizes the effective use of task-based problems. So task-based meaning you give it as a task and students would actually solve it. And it would allow the students to be active and at the same time to be able to learn the multidisciplinary way, meaning it incorporates different disciplines. It could even touch science, no? It could even look into politics or into science, into mathematics, not only English, but this is multidisciplinary. And through problem-based learning, students learn how to solve problems that are ill-structured and open-ended or ambiguous. And problem-based learning engages students in intriguing, real, and relevant intellectual inquiry. And according to Varel in 2017, which is this according to him, no? Problem-based learning engages students in intriguing, real, and relevant intellectual inquiry and allows them to learn from life situations. So there's just a ton of problems that students could look for a solution. And the PBL approach, of course, we begin with the problem. And then after that is our knowledge about it, our skills, in order for us to come up with a solution. We present the solution, we apply what we have learned, the skills, to solve the problem. And then after we reflect on it, and we need to ask for feedback, or does it really work? Is it really the best solution? So, well, it could be a constructive feedback, or it could be everything positive. So it depends on what is being observed by your audience. Now, we do have here comparison between the traditional learning and the problem-based learning. For traditional learning, we tell the students what they need to know, or told what we need to know. So we are told, oh, you have to know this. But for problem-based learning is that the problem is being assigned. This is a very good comparison. No? The problem is being assigned. And for traditional learning, what we do is we memorize what we are told to learn, we memorize it. And then the outcome after memorizing is problem assigned to illustrate how to use it, how to use what we have memorized. But more problem-based learning is we assign the learners a problem, and they identify we identify what we need to know about the problem so we could be able to learn, and apply to solve the problem. So this is a very good, because after the outcome is there is a solution. And the pedagogical value of PBL, it includes exposing students to real world challenges, no? Because we are not going to present them superficial problems or challenges, but there are problems in the real world, and higher order thinking skills, interdisciplinary learning. It could even mean students have autonomy in learning or independent learning, information mining skills, teamwork, and communication. And during this self-directed learning, students work together. So there is collaboration. They discuss, they compare, they review, they debate about what they have learned. And that is according to Wilkerson in 1996. Now we have here traditional teaching. Each professor teaches in class like this, talking, boring, talking and thinking. So it's the conventional. For the problem-based learning, or the PBL, each student in the group learns and communicates, and then the teacher here only facilitates the learning. The students are assigned a problem, no? Unlike traditional teaching, a problem or case is presented to the group in PBL class by the professor, and the three roles in the PBL. For the group, the professor becomes a tutor. They would only listen to discussions that is meant by the tutor, and one of the group member becomes scribe or moderator, participates in discussions, and also take down notes or points. And here a problem is a scenario where a patient comes to doctor with a problem till the time he gets away with medication and treatment. And a problem is ill-structured and cut into different parts, and each parts are called the trigger 1, 2, and so on. So we do have here the objectives of the problem-based: knowledge, skills, and attitude. So knowledge, basic and clinical content in context. And then for the skills, acquire critical thinking, decision-making, problem-solving, self-learning. And for the attitude, teamwork, being interpersonal, and networking. And we can now start our PBL class. Group wishes the tutor, and then the tutor smiles. He or she sets timeline and guidelines. And a handout, trigger 1. Okay, they brainstorm and they hypothesize. Identify the learning issues, what they know and don't know. And they list the points or the objectives, and assign tasks to each team member. Team should go back and do the research and get the answer. And students and tutor will disperse from the class and will meet in the next PBL class. Students research and collect data from any available resources for the next PBL class. So PBL class 2 begins as the group and tutor arrives, and they begin with summary of last class. Then each student talk about his or her findings, and rest of the team learn. So this is very engaging activity, or likewise, everyone speaks, everybody learns and speaks. This is very collaborative. Everyone learns and share information, as I said. So they will complete the first trigger, and at the same time, we will report to the tutor what they have done. And then the tutor gives feedback and gives evaluation. And next problem, handout trigger 2. Okay, then the same process repeats and the learning continues. Okay, and this is a very good example of how PBL works. of if how PBL works in the classroom. Now, we do have theoretical underpinnings of the problem-based learning. The following are some theoretical underpinnings of PBL. Number one, students should start with a clean slate. Okay, prior knowledge, the assumptions and experiences are critical in helping students find meaningful entry points into the problem. The second, learning happens in a social context with meaning negotiated in a collaborative team setting. And the third, strategies here are consciously applied to deal with unfamiliar information and handling team dynamics and working out feasible and well thought through solutions. So we have also learner-centeredness is the focus. And learning takes place through self-directed discovery and questioning, and the use of problems acts as a stimulus for the learning. And the last would be critical reflection happens throughout the learning process. So if you do the process of this PBL, there is critical reflection along the way. And then the problem-based learning, or the PBL, has been accepted for instructions in many fields of studies since it was first introduced in the medical field. So this is first introduced in the medical field, and that was in the 1960s. However, there is one area where it is underutilized, and that is in the English language learning. But problem-based learning, it provides a very good platform for authentic English. So what is meant by authentic is that real, no? As a second language instruction. And as a result, it can actually foster in English language use while we promote critical thinking, interactive communication, and self-reflection. So we have here steps in PBL. Stage 1 is the risk group setting. Stage 2, problem identification. Stage 3 is idea generation. The stage 4, learning issues. Stage 5, self-directed learning. Stage 6, synthesis and application. And stage 7 is reflection and feedback. So facts, ideas, learning issues, and action plan. Now, English language learners, or the ELLs, in particular, they may benefit from the PBL instruction as it helps English language learners develop the cultural constructs along with language art skills. And we're talking here about the reading, writing, the listening, and the speaking. And then the problem-based learning, or the PBL, it was first introduced in the 1960s by a Canadian medical educator. So we have Howard Barrows, Dilys Lee in 1997. And a problem-based learning has moved actually into mainstream education. And we're talking here into most content areas in the K-12 and more reluctantly into higher education as well. Now, as an instructional strategy, the PBL, it can be defined by its processes. And the problem-based instruction is primarily built around a problem scenario or in problem-based language case.
Okay, class. So that is how we set up a proportion and solve for x. Are there any questions? Okay, let's move on then. The next section we're going to do today covers word problems involving
What do you think
proportions.
went wrong here? Does this seem like an engaging lesson? Are the students actively participating? You would think that these being adult learners, they would be interested in what they are being taught. As educators, we know the importance of what we are teaching, but the students may not necessarily be aware of this. It's up to you to teach them how to do something and why to do something.
Okay, it's up to you how to do something and why to do something.
So how do we do this? How do we motivate adult learners to realize that what we teach them will be useful to them? How do we inspire them to think out of the box and solve problems creatively? How do we, as educators, find a way to show students that what they are learning has value and meaning, can be applied to the real world, and can be engaging to learn? We can do this using a method called problem-based learning, or PBL. What is this, you may ask? According to Stanford University, problem-based learning is a teaching strategy where students work with classmates to solve complex and authentic problems that help develop content knowledge as well as problem-solving, reasoning, communication, and self-assessment skills. With this technique, students learn that the skills they are learning are necessary for their fields of study and later in life, which helps boost their interest in what they are being taught. Overall, this is a technique where students learn by doing. They will be able to solve complex and open-ended problems that have meaning to them, which makes the class more engaging than a typical college lecture. According to Professor David Kwan, learning must be relevant to learners' objectives in order.
So according to Professor David Kwan, learning must be relevant to the learner's objectives in order to be effective and efficient. I like this.
To be effective and efficient. So it's important for the problem or activity to be relatable. In order for learning to occur at all, it should be active, integrated, and a constructive process, which is influenced by both contextual and social factors. PBL goes hand in hand with experiential learning, which the Association for Experiential
So this is similar with experiential learning.
Education defines as a philosophy and methodology in which educators purposefully engage with students in direct experience and focus reflection in order to increase knowledge, develop skills, and clarify values. Through experiential learning, students learn through problem solving and critical thinking instead of recall and memorization, much like problem-based learning. Now, do you know what the best part of PBL is? It can be implemented in almost any subject, especially at the college level. This technique is most often used in the medical field, where students learn through dealing with scenarios. However, this technique is also used in education, business, psychology, dentistry, engineering, law, music, architecture, and the list just keeps going. Okay, so that sounds pretty good, right? Now, how do we implement it? PBL can be used at 3 different levels: curriculum level, group level, and individual student level. In the
So there is 3 levels, the curriculum. We'll look into the group, and then the last would be the individual.
curriculum level, all problems and objectives are identical for all students. At the group level, each group can have either the same problem and different objectives, or vice versa. Lastly, at the individual student level, the instructor can predetermine objectives for each individual student.
So this is very good. We're talking about levels of the PBL.
Lastly, you'll want to create learning objectives. Help your students by creating a list of tasks to complete. This step is especially helpful with complex scenarios because students can delegate and take on various roles and have individual tasks to complete. As students work collaboratively with their groups, one of the aims of problem-based learning is that they go through a process called self-directed learning, which occurs when students take their own initiative and feel as though they are the ones in charge of their own learning. This helps students become self-sufficient and helps prepare them for lifelong learning. Studies show students who become self-directed learners are independent, willing to take initiative, persistent in learning, self-disciplined, self-confident, organized in terms of time and work, able to develop a completion plan, goal-oriented, and self-motivated to learn as much as they can. In addition to becoming self-directed learners, students should also be identifying their own learning needs, leading classroom discussions, and assessing work done by other students and themselves. To be successful, students need to keep in mind what they already know in order to solve these problems. If this were a traditional classroom, the teacher would be the center of instruction and guidance. However, in problem-based learning, students are the center and the role of the teacher changes to a facilitator, tutor, or cognitive coach. It is the
Okay, so we have here a very good comparison between traditional classroom and a problem-based learning classroom. So if it's a traditional classroom, the teacher is the center. But if it's a problem-based learning classroom, the students are the center and the teacher becomes a tutor, becomes a facilitator.
teacher's role to guide exploration,
Right.
provide feedback, and create a classroom environment that will encourage collaboration. Most importantly, the teacher must encourage students to think for themselves and to become self-directed learners. And mistakes are bound to happen, and that's okay. These are learning opportunities. Mistakes don't represent a lack of ability, and students should be encouraged to learn from their mistakes. So does problem-based learning actually work? Research shows that students, first and foremost, learn to work in a group. Group work helps students create learning communities, which help them feel comfortable with creating new ideas and raising questions, improves communication and interpersonal skills, stimulates task involvement, helps students manage group dynamics, and motivates students because they are all a part of the solution and each is accountable for his role. Research also shows that PBL enhances long-term memory due to group work, making learning that much more prominent. In addition to benefiting from group work, students also improve their problem-solving skills. Instead of recalling information and facts, they learn to build connections between these facts and are able to apply them to multiple scenarios. When students are a part of problem-based learning, they report being enthusiastic about the work and enjoy working with other students because of the controversial discussions that arise. They also report understanding the subject better after being able to integrate it, as well as having higher self-esteem and self-confidence. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I will learn." Now let's get back to our classroom and see what should have been done.
Okay, class, now I want you to pretend you're all getting ready for a class party and you have to prepare enough treats for everyone in the class based on the recipes I gave you. I want you to break up into groups of 3 and you're going to use what we've learned up to this point to figure out how much of each ingredient you'll need for the proper amounts of servings. I'll be handing out detailed instructions as well as the different...
Now the students will get to experience firsthand how what they learned can be applied to a simple task, such as cooking and baking. So what are you waiting for? Try it out for yourself. There's nothing to lose, but so much to gain.
This is a task-based learning, and I love the example. And I believe this is very good if we use this in our language classes because it would allow our learners to be able to learn the language, not only the language, but other discipline too, and it gives them authentic learning experience. Now we have here problem scenario, prepare a product, for example. We have here explore problem, and then when we explore a problem, we are going to generate facts, ideas or brainstorm. We discuss current knowledge that we have. We identify also what are the learning issues and then suggest learning resources. And then we have here the self-directed learning, or the STL. And then we discuss the problem. And then we share and apply new knowledge. We evaluate performance. We consolidate learning and then prepare the product. Then we have here a sample business English course. So the general objective of the business English course is to raise the proficiency of students in all aspects of business English, in speaking, reading, writing, and listening. And we do have here the specific objectives. Number 1, developing students' awareness of and linguistic competency in business English. And we expose students to real world business situations and management through discussions, role plays, and case studies. Now, and the course also aims to improve the writing, speaking, listening, and reading skills of students to enhance their professional competency in a global business setting. So we have here the problem-based inquiry. Okay, the problem-based inquiry would look into situated cognition, constructivism. We have social learning, communities of practice. So, and then students are involved, obviously, and then they formulate ideas and develop reasoning. And it goes on to identifying the real world problems. We look into what context it is situated. We have critical thinking. And of course, we are going to create solution. We formulate ideas and then we develop how to reason out. So we start with the students and this is the course. This is how it would go. And rationale for using PBL. Why do we have to use the problem-based learning to teach business English? So this approach actually would enable the students to engage in collaborative decision-making and the team-building skills, and they would be able to solve the problem through group negotiations with other international students. And in addition, the PBL approach would encourage students to actually venture or try thinking out of the box. So go out from their comfort zone as they would be assigned to a problem to solve that is usually open-ended and it does not require a prescribed approach on how to solve it. Now, the power also of PBL in the EFL's classroom, the students engage in solving the problem. They would also learn the processes involved in finding solutions to the problem, that resulting in deep learning. And through PBL, students would also learn to adopt an interdisciplinary approach to problem solving. And this mirrors the real working world, where the solutions to real problems require a range of knowledge and skills. And a PBL approach would actually encourage self-directed learning as students decide for themselves how to go and find a solution to the problem. And we have here the PBL assignment. So in the PBL approach, the students work on groups, projects, and then form the platform for the students' learning. Then students here, they're presented with a class assignment with a problem scenario to solve, and a problem-based scenario is then used as a vehicle for learning. So we provide them a problem, and the problem is presented through an open-ended real-life scenario pertaining to customer service. So this is an example. This is English project assignment, assessment of customer service in BPO. Okay, so this is the play the role of an evaluator for a business company in BPO. You're responsible for evaluating the quality and the service provided by the department store shop. So see, it's really true that this is multidisciplinary. Your task, you're to write a report to the company manager with your findings, and you would present the cons and pros of the pros of the department or store shop, the attitude of the service staff, the quality of the products, services that it provide, and then rate the shop according to what you have researched and gathered. In addition, you have to conduct an oral presentation for your project at the end of the course, and we provide periodic and regular updates in class to your tutor on the progress of it. So the tutor here is the teacher. In the PBL also, we start with a problem, we do have the ideas, the knowledge, and then learning issues, and then one course of action. The role of the teacher is to guide the students and asking them to define and analyze the problem, generate ideas, and identify learning issues to help solve the problem. So for instance, the teacher posed the following questions. So these are the questions. No? Example lang. And then we have assessment of students. So students are assessed through a group oral presentation and at the same time a written report about their project. So this is how they will be graded or assessed. The group oral presentation consists of both the individual and the group assessment, and students here are assessed on the information presented, speech, delivery, and the use of English, while the written report is assessed on a group basis. And to ensure fairness in grading, teacher reminded the class that free riders would receive a grade lower than other group members. So kaning free riders pang that did not participate or have not contributed any effort. So muli silang mga free riders, dawat sa limpyo kumbaga. So implementation of the PBL project as a topic for the assignment is based on customer service. Students were instructed to visit a retail outlet, diba, supermarket or a restaurant or office to assess the level of service standards and the quality of the service provided. And the instructions for students are as follows. So simply role play a mystery shopper. Do not identify who you are, as that will defeat the purpose. You may wish to role play a difficult customer and see how the sales staff attends to your needs. So choose an outlet, but no two groups in the same class should work on the same company. Your teacher must approve the company chosen. Then at the day, prepare a group oral presentation that should include the following information. So once the students would be asked to present, this will be followed. Name of outlet visited, the date, day and time of visit, then describe the nature of your visit or what the test scenario is about. And then comment on the service experience at the outlet. And we are going to highlight this time the do's and don'ts that the service staff did right or wrong. So we are learning. There's so much learning here in this situation. Give recommendations and suggestions and provide a solution on how to improve the service level of the outlet. What has your group learned? Comment on the service experience at the retail outlet or restaurant or cafe. As part of the presentation, you may wish to enact what happened during your face-to-face encounter at the outlets. And we do have here in groups of 4 or 5 students brainstorm among themselves the problem based on the assignment. And they had to define the problem to be able to tailor it to a specific audience. And students here would help the teacher this time examine the problem and clarified what it is they know and do not know about customer service. And they also formulated possible hypotheses and identified learning issues they intended to investigate. Now, then after that, they would submit us a memo report on their proposed project to seek approval from their teacher so they could proceed with the project. And then the groups then employed research strategies to collect relevant information. Students here discussed their findings and peer taught what they had learned. Now the group members then developed an outcome for the problem and presented their findings to other groups in their group project presentation, and where their peers and the tutor evaluated their project. The students reflected on the way they had learned in their groups through an online survey. So now this time we have to monitor the progress of the students. So to enable for the teacher to keep track of students' progress, each group had to provide actually this informal oral progress report of the group assignment. And then the purpose of this report is, of course, para ma-keep track the teacher ang progress the students. So to provide a comprehensive progress of their PBL project, ang students, they have to be instructed to answer the following questions. So the questions are, what are the tasks that have been completed for the project? And what are still the remaining tasks? And what problems did your group experience in the PBL project? And how were they solved? And what had the group learned from the PBL project? So we have here some response of students towards PBLs. We have student 1. When he did a PBL, he feels excited and a bit worried about this project. The excitement is because he really thinks this project is very interesting and interactive. Not just simple sit and write a report. We really have to go to the shop and act like a nasty customer in order to reach the goal. In student 2, there is no doubt that this oral presentation assignment is a tough task, as it will last for at least 5 weeks. The name of this course is Business English, but this task is more like a business task other than English task. Now we have here also observations by the teacher. So the following points were observed by the teacher. PBL promotes independent learning among students, and then students adopt a creative stance to problem solving. And then PBL also plays a great role in fostering collaborative learning, heightened awareness of Japanese students to good English usage. So we do also have some limitations and problems. So the students initially struggled. They actually struggled accepting the PBL assignment since they have not previously been exposed to problem analysis and PBL scenarios. So when students are actually given a task and it's their first time to do it, they would always be hesitant and feeling nervous. Other students were initially hesitant to discuss their thoughts about a problem with other members during group discussions. And this is definitely true for domestic Japanese students who are the respondents or participants of the study, who are reluctant to share their opinions on the problems, as they were more concerned with having the right solution to the problem. So the Japanese, they are the ones doing the PBL course. And several students were uneasy with the open-ended problem assigned to them. And some students also, they experienced difficulties with communicating to other international students. So they did not have the language ability to express their views. And in addition, students were also worried what they may not be able to obtain much information from the shop they intended to visit. And then we do have here some tips, very important, for conducting a successful PBL in class, so problem-based learning. We have here some recommendations. First is we allow students to select members. Basically, they inform students in advance of the penalty for not participating in the group work. Second, set aside a dedicated session for groups to discuss the progress of the research and to provide feedback when necessary, and then use reflective diaries and include a reflective critique as part of the assignment. Then we consider having a mock, like a rehearsal, a mock conference at which students present their results and invite other teachers to observe and to give comments. And then use online discussion forums for students to post their meeting minutes and to discuss the progress of the research. So this is all about the problem-based learning. So next time, our topic will be teaching English with a project-based approach. So katong primero class, ang first nga slide with project-based o problem-based learning. So this is for Unit 3, Lesson 1, problem-based learning. I hope, class, you learned a thing or two from our lecture today. And basically, I will see you on the next video lecture. Bye, everyone.